Hey, good morning, everyone. Tractorman 44 here. Hey, I'm sure you guys might remember this 2000 Ford. I think it's a 1972 that I had in the shop a couple of years ago. We were doing a lot of work to make sure that we could get away from the Lucas Electrics componentry on the dash. We got away from the original Lucas Electrics that was on it, and we put a Delco 3-wire alternator on it and a LED or a light emitting diode in the dash to go ahead and initiate the charging procedure. And also, another thing that we did is we changed from the electronic temperature indicator and put a mechanical temperature indicator on there. Well, fast forward to today, about 2 years later, and I'll refresh your memory just a little bit. This particular one has a sensor. It's an 1/8" pipe plug fitting that actually goes into the front of the head to provide the signal back to the gauge. Well, I went ahead and opted to put the thermal bulb in, but I had to go ahead and extend the drain cock and insert that thermal bulb inside that fitting right there on the side of the block. Now, the reason I had to do that was we didn't have there's no thermal bulb that I know of that will fit in that 1/8" pipe plug. It needs a 1/4 inch at the very minimum. Might even be a 3/8, I don't recall. But anyway, for that to physically fit inside that opening. Now, it does sense the temperature and the engine temperature down here adequately, but it's not nearly as accurate as what it is up there on the top front of the engine coming right out of the head or right at the top of the head. It's going to give a much more responsive, much more accurate temperature. This one reads about 30 degrees cooler down here on the block than what it actually does up there on the center of the head. So what I've done, I've opted, after 2 years of use, I've opted to go ahead and do away with this mechanical temperature indicator and go back with a 12-volt electric temperature indicator that requires that sensor to be installed in the front of the head. I managed to get one that's the standard 1/8" pipe thread, so it should just back the old one out. I just left it in the head, instead of putting a plug in it, and screw this one right in and go ahead and wire it up just like we would normally wire any kind of a 12-volt component. So that's what we're going to do today. And then there's one other thing we're going to do too. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and leave this so that we can actually use it if necessary, but it'll just be as an accessory. But I'm going to go ahead and attach a physical drawbar out of from the underbelly of the tractor and go ahead and extend the stub to just about here, just about where it needs to be, so that you can have any kind of a part takeoff driven device that the part takeoff shaft, without having to telescope it all the way out to the end of the fitting, you'll be able to telescope it right onto the part takeoff, and you don't have to worry about it flopping excessively. So this will remain an accessory that they can actually go ahead and use, put back on, whatever, or just leave off if you have all pull type implements. So what we're going to do, I don't have access to a Ford drawbar. I don't have any spare Ford drawbars, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one off of one of the Massey Harrises. Now this one here is bent up. I may or may not use this one, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead, you can see how it's got a bend in it. This is off of a Massey Harris 44, and those things are a beast by comparison to this little 2000. And it would be fine, and I may use it, I don't know if it happens to be the best one I've got. But I'm going to go ahead and adapt that to where it will work right here under the belly of the tractor. So that's the second part of what the project's going to be. This obviously is the top radiator hose, and the sensor that I need to get to is right down here underneath the bottom of that hose right on the front of that head. So I'm going to have to do that off camera because it doesn't do me any good to film it. You can't see anything anyway. So we'll be back as soon as I get that fitting out, and I'll show you the new sensor whenever I'm getting ready to put it in. I knew I was probably going to have to take at least the top hose off in order to get in there, and sure enough, had to drain down some of the coolant and put it in some containers to get in there easily to get this out. This is the old one here that came out. It's just fitted with a spade clip, whereas the new one has a nut and washer and everything. But the reason I went ahead and changed it is I don't know exactly if this is going to read exactly the same. So at least this was matched to the original Lucas Electric Systems gauge and the dash pod. This one's matched to the replacement 12-volt meter that I'm going to be installing. Now, I could be wrong, but what I think has to happen is this thing gets a 12-volt signal sent to it, and based on the temperature of the water, it'll vary the output voltage going back to the gauge, which will result in an accurate correlation between that output voltage and temperature of the water. That's the way I think it should work. I think at that point they would refer to this as a thermistor type sensor. But I'm just kind of guessing. But it sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead and get that installed and start running a couple wires back to the dash pod. We'll pull apart the dash pod, refresh our memory about what we got going on under there, and continue on. You can now see that pretty brass stub sticking out there. The new sensor is installed, and I'm in the process of removing the old mechanical one. You'll remember I used like a 22 gauge galvanized and cut me a dash pod to match the opening where the original one fit. And when you get back into working on something that's only been done a couple of years ago, stop and look what Mother Nature gives you. She gives you mice nests. Isn't that great? I've also found about 3 wires that have been chewed off back here. Fortunately, they're only to lighting to the gauges, but there's also one main wire that goes up to the alternator that's been stripped back. That could be very detrimental. So at any rate, we're going to go ahead and pull the rest of this mechanical gauge off and install the new 12 volt. Again, over-the-counter gauge. Well, I got to tell you, I'm not real proud of what it looks like right there, but I did manage to get everything repaired, everything that was chewed off and all that stuff. It's not nearly as neat as what I had it, so I definitely have to tidy this all up, zip tie things together, and I've got some wire loom to put around a couple of the wires that goes that way, in addition to the ones that I had in there before. Wire loom like this right here, you can see that. Anything that I had in wire loom was literally untouched. They didn't even get near the ends of it. Normally they would chew right all the way up to it. That's pretty good, but I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of them coming out from back in that instrument cluster into that into another wire loom. Anytime you work on these old tractors, got any kind of wiring to do, it's good to have a good complement of a variety of sizes of wire gauges and also openings on the eyelets, whether they're a spade clip or a circular connection like this, or a female spade clip that slides onto a male. Don't be too concerned by the hodgepodge of wires back there. I have not straightened those up yet. But now that I've got the battery in, before we straighten that all up and button this up, we need to verify that we've got voltage where we need to have it. So we should be able to turn the key on. We should be able to see the LED come on. And we should see the voltmeter read what the battery voltage is. Okay, there's our voltmeter came up. Our voltmeter came up to just at 12 volts. It's not a high resolution, so it's probably 12.2, 12.3, which is going to indicate a halfway charged battery. And of course down here, if you were able to look at our electric temperature sensor, you could have seen it move just ever so gentle. So it's definitely recording a bit of temperature, even though I've just put cold water and cold antifreeze back in the radiator. There you go. You should have seen it drop down as soon as I turned it off. So now I got to go ahead and clean all this stuff up in the back. Button that up. We'll put the instrument cluster back into position. So now I've already verified we're neutral. I got the wheels chocked. You may not be able to see this, so I'll bring the camera up close a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and see if it'll fire up. Here we go right here. This has got a tricky neutral switch, so I might have to wiggle it to find the neutral switch. This guy always likes a little bit of a choke. This thing has sat here long enough. I lost the prime on the carburetor. That's why it took about 10 seconds of grinding in order to get that fuel pump to get it back over to the carburetor. If you start and run this machine every day, or at least once a week, it literally takes about 3 revolutions of the engine for it to fire off. But if it sets any longer than maybe a 2-week period, it doggone if it doesn't somehow or another lose prime on that carburetor. You can see our output's good of the alternator. It's showing right at 13 volts, but like I said, the resolution is not good on this. I can check it with a digital voltmeter and tell you for sure. It looks like we're running about 72 pounds of oil pressure. The LED is turned out, and you can see our temperature. The Fahrenheit scale is the white numbers. The outer scale, the Celsius, is the inner scale, but you can see we're up to 40 Celsius, or roughly 100 degree Fahrenheit right now. So it's definitely responding, definitely doing what it's supposed to do. But I'm gonna go ahead and check some things with some digital components against what we're reading here. I went ahead and ran the RPM up a little bit to build a little temperature in the engine a little bit quicker, and you can see we've already raised to about 100 and roughly 160 degree on the sensor. So that's really looking good. And our oil pressure is still above 60 psi, and we're still putting out roughly 13.3 volts with a digital voltmeter on the battery. I'd say it's looking pretty good. Well, guys, that'll probably be enough for today. I did not get around to the drawbar. I'm going to go ahead and make that a separate video because that'd be too much to put all in one video anyway. But anyway, hey, it's actually sounding pretty good. Everything is up and running fine. This is just really a good tractor, especially when I changed that Pertronics or Petronics ignition system. This thing was always a problematic tractor, you know, when it was below freezing or anywhere below 40 degrees actually, and that has really solved the issue all the way down to really, really cold. Now when it's really, really cold, there's still a bit of an issue, but then again, got an old battery here, it's 10 years old, you know, that thing doesn't totally hold the full charge all the time, but we always manage to get it going. But we never would have done that before that electronic ignition, guarantee you. So hey, you know what, that's all there is to this one here. It's Tractor Man 44, and I'm out of here, guys.